On 9/11, everyone in the world had their own personal reaction to the event. Many reacted as they heard the media interview government officials who immediately named the person responsible and then, as required, became angry and demanded revenge. This reaction was engineered and controlled expertly and became so ingrained that any attempt to speak against the planned story was regarded as unpatriotic. But different reactions were observed that day. When the president was first informed that the U.S. was under attack, his reaction was not as one would expect. Does this face look like what you would expect the commander-in-chief's face to look like after being told that his country was under attack, and that his own life was now in danger from another plane strike as his position that day was well publicized? Do you find the reaction of his personal bodyguards and Secret Service compatible with such a threat to their prime client? Would you expect him to continue to read a storybook, or would you expect his guards to whisk him away rapidly? Alternatively, you may think that such reactions come from an understanding that there was no threat there at all, but such a thought would be unpatriotic. Later, Bush explained that
was sitting outside the classroom waiting to go in, and I saw an airplane hit the tower of a TV. The TV was obviously on, and I used to fly myself, and I said, well, there's one terrible pilot.
Such a reaction would be expected, except the first plane strike wasn't shown on live TV. So, with that in mind, do you still find that reaction credible? But such a thought would be unpatriotic. As events unfold in Manhattan, we observe Mayor Giuliani reacting. His first reaction is to evacuate his expensive and fully functioning emergency center inside World Trade Center 7 and move to a far less prepared office a few streets away. At this time, first responders are arriving and setting up their own control points in World Trade Center 1, 2, and 7 as they consider them safe and convenient places to operate from. Their reactions are at odds with Giuliani's. So what really drove his evacuation decision? How could he know that his normal operations room, which was designed to survive huge disasters, was in such danger? But such a thought would be unpatriotic. Others in World Trade Center 7 are also reacting. Barry Jennings and Michael Hess were reacting to a huge explosion that blew them back upstairs on floor 6 in World Trade Center 7 and tracked them both inside the building for hours.
There was an explosion and the landing gave way. We started walking down the stairs. We made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor.
Another gentleman and I walked down to the 8th floor where there was an explosion.
They both reported that this explosion occurred before either tower had fallen. Later reactions on the subject were that Michael Hess completely changed the story after Barry Jennings had died in mysterious circumstances.
My position, and I'm quite firm on it, there were no explosions. Did I feel the building shake? Absolutely.
Another gentleman and I walked down to the 8th floor where there was an explosion.
What a great reaction Giuliani made when he decided to evacuate his emergency room a few minutes before this occurred. Questioning these odd events is deemed unpatriotic. Other reactions were perfectly normal, like Dan Rather told it like he saw it.
It looks like one of those scenes of an old building being, purposely dynamited and blown up.
Peter Jennings told it like he saw it.
We have no idea what caused this. If you wish to bring anybody who's ever watched a building being demolished on purpose knows that if you're going to do this, you have to get at the under infrastructure of a building and bring it down.
But once the official script had been circulated, reactions differed. The BBC reacted by reporting events 20 minutes before they had occurred.
They daren't even say how many people might have been killed and injured, and I think that feeling until the idea of the...
CNN also had a similar anticipatory reaction.
Building 7 in the World Trade Center complex is on fire and has either collapsed or is collapsing, and
Many insiders had incredible foresight. The market for put options in both United Airways and American Airlines went off the scale in a few days prior to 9/11. These financial bets that are the share price of the two airlines involved in 9/11 would take a huge drop that week. Millions of dollars were made when those bets came good. To wonder and ask how these prior events became possible is seen as unpatriotic. Meanwhile, other key figures are also reacting. Cheney's bodyguards reacted by removing him to the bunker under the White House. There, he was seen reacting to a news of arrival of a third plane from
50 miles out, 30 miles out, 10 miles out.
And asked,
do the orders still stand?
He reacted by whipping his head around and snapping,
Of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary?
Moments later, the Pentagon was struck. At the Pentagon itself, we see another key figure reacting. Rumsfeld reacted by leaving his office. He decided to react by becoming a porter. At a critical time when key decisions were being demanded by numerous officials, he wasn't available. One could ask if he already knew that such decisions were in fact not required, as all a day's planned events had already happened. But such thoughts would be unpatriotic. The FBI reacted rapidly at the Pentagon, though. Agents visited every location which had a private CCTV facility overlooking the impact site and confiscated the tapes. Would it be churlish to wonder how they knew within minutes of the location of those cameras and how they managed to react so rapidly and efficiently? Or are such thoughts unpatriotic? In other parts of the country, people with critical roles were also reacting. The air defense was reacting. Their first reaction was to question the request for assistance was real.
We need someone to scramble some F-16. There's something up there. Help us out.
Is this real world or exercise?
No, this is not an exercise manifest.
Once that reaction was overcome, they reacted by sending the planes out over the Atlantic. The end result was no more planes were over the area until all the attacks had been completed. But don't question these tardy reactions, as that would be unpatriotic. Reactions after the event then began to be seen. News conferences began. Giuliani's reaction to questions was interesting, or rather, the reaction of another fielding the questions was interesting.
The cause of the explosions that brought the two buildings down yet? Was it caused by the planes or by something else?
We
Second explosion?
believe that it was caused by the after effects of the planes hitting the buildings. We don't know of an additional explosion after that.
Could you tell us?
Decide for yourself what those reactions really show. Bush's reaction to questions about planes being used as weapons was also interesting.
Nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings on such a massive scale.
Rice's reaction to similar questions was taken from the same carefully prepared script.
I don't think anybody could have predicted that they would try to use an airplane as a missile, a hijacked airplane as a missile.
Of course, they both omitted to point out that numerous previous reports and drills had taken place on the same subject, which totally refuted their assertions. But whatever you do, don't ask questions about their lives, as that would be unpatriotic. Is it time to examine your own reactions to these events and possibly consider if they need amending? Could it be that you have been manipulated into that original reaction? Is it time to become patriotic by asking questions? The Founding Fathers thought so.